human condition. This Sunday from 10 a.m. on Eye on Dependency, Garth and Natasha start our tribute to Sir Trevor McDonald. Every month from now until Independence Day, we will share a documentary from Sir Trevor's archive of international journalism, starting with this piece, On Death Row.
I deserve to be executed.
Welcome to Indiana's State Prison.
And hearing this man's story.
So I committed a double homicide at the age of 13 years old, and for my complicity in that crime, I was sentenced to 170 years, 170.
Joining us in studio to share his perspective on prison conditions in Trinidad and Tobago will be former Commissioner of Prisons, Jared Wilson. You don't want to miss Eye on Dependency. This Sunday from 10 a.m. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on our Facebook or YouTube channel, Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories. We change lives.
We change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Independency right here on 95.5, live on the Independency Facebook page and YouTube channel. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Garth. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Beautiful Sunday morning in our Twin Island Republic today. And this morning on Independency, we are tackling another serious topic, but one that I will allow Garth to introduce.
We are about to, of course, we have in studio with us, and we thank him very much for spending, agreeing to spend the time with us this morning, is Mr. Jared Wilson, former Commissioner of Prisons. And also, as usual, morning, Mr. Wilson.
Morning, God. Morning, Natasha. Morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Today is not Friday, but I'm here.
And once again, two of the NGOs in Trinidad and Tobago on the road less traveled, but it's a difficult road nonetheless. And we are here this morning, as usual, to educate you. We have a lot to unpack today, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to learn a lot here this morning. We're going to delve into some history, and with the assistance of Guy Barrington and Hinkson Shortman Boris, we hope that at the end of this program that you learn something as usual. We, especially young people, will be joining us this morning. We say young people are not interested in this kind of stuff. Yes, they do. Yes, they are. And we have a lot to unpack. First of all, why Sir Trevor McDonald? Well, Mr. Wilson's role here this morning is to look at the infrastructure that we're about to show you, and we hope that you can log on to either YouTube or Facebook to see it. And with the kind permission of Plum Pictures, Mr. Stuart Cobb and Anita Land out there in the UK, we also going to feature this documentary done by Sir Trevor McDonald. Now, Mr. Wilson's role, as I said, is to look at the institution and let us know what he thinks. And again, once again, our prison penal institutions are in focus. As Commissioner of Prisons, when he was there, if this is what he would have liked to see for our institution, and what plans would he have had, or what would he have done before he left, had he had more time. Why Sir Trevor McDonald? We are about to achieve a milestone in Trinidad and Tobago come independence. We'll be 60 years. Now, 60 years is a very important time in anyone's or country's life. 60. We're supposed to be matured fully now.
Yes.
Or that's what it's expected.
Fully retired and or pensionable.
Right. But we cannot retire our country. We have to continue to grow.
Correct.
Now, history is part of our journey. Sir Trevor McDonald was born and educated in Trinidad in the West Indies, where his career in media began. First as a radio reporter, news presenter, and sports journalist. On his first major assignment as a journalist, he was sent to London in 1962 to report on talks at Marlborough House, which culminated in setting a date for Trinidad and Tobago's independence. So Trevor went to London in August 1969 to work as a producer in the BBC Overseas Regional Service at Bush House in Aldwych. He went on to produce current affairs programs for the BBC World Service and, in that capacity, worked on the initiation of a number of shows like The World Today, which are still part of the BBC World Service schedule. In 1973, he joined ITN as a general reporter. His first major assignment was in Northern Ireland, where he covered the province's troubles for more than a decade. He also reported from Dublin, Rome, Brussels, Strasbourg, Luxembourg, on negotiations about the terms of Britain's membership and earliest days of the then common market, now the European Union. Now, from now until independence, each month we'll feature a documentary from Sir Trevor. And this, we should agree, is a milestone for him and for us, because when Dr. Eric Williams and Reginald Capildeo went to Marlborough House to, for want of a better term, haggle for our independence, Sir Trevor McDonald, he wasn't Sir Trevor then, but he's Sir Trevor now. He was the first journalist to go covered. But he has some work that he did that can benefit us. We're going to be showing you one of them this morning. We're going to look at the death row inmates of the Indiana State Prison. You're going to actually get a tour of the prison, and the young people, you'll benefit from hearing the testimonies of the ones who are incarcerated, some of them committing crimes from an early age as 13 years. And we ask you to place yourself in their position and see if you can handle lifetime in prison or even on death row. Mr. Wilson will speak to the death penalty, added to which he will speak about the infrastructure that he's going to see this morning, and we welcome his knowledge we would also like Mr. Wilson to comment on the prisoners themselves, because a lot of what we're about to see and hear from Sir Trevor focuses on the stories and the journeys of these men. Well, now men, some of them were, as Garth mentioned, 13 years old when they were put on death row. But the journey that these men's lives have taken while they've been incarcerated. Sure. And I think, because I think that is the crux of the journalism that he's produced, is that, telling these men's stories and identifying, how they got there, how they fare while they're in there, what is the culture in there, how do they deal with just the emotion and psychology of being on death row. Yeah. And being incarcerated for very long periods of time, and some of the structures and the penalties that are applied to human beings for doing certain crimes. So I think that discussion as well will be relevant. And yes, sure. And you will also see where they're staying as death row prisoners. Yeah. If we have that here in Trinidad and Tobago, you'll see what I'm talking about.
We'll see that.
Right, but they're living conditions, that is. Right, so we'll take a break. And after this first break, we will come back and get right into the first chapter of Sir Trevor's visit to Indiana State Maximum Security Prison. Stay right there, we'll be back.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangence methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 623-0952 or After Hours 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 794-7980. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and as we mentioned earlier, or if you're just joining us, we are going to take in a documentary by our very own son of the soil, Sir Trevor McDonald, as he visited death row at Indiana State Prison and spoke with some of the prisoners there. And in studio to help us digest what we've just seen and heard is Mr. Jared Wilson. He's the former Commissioner of Prisons in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's go with part.
Yes, and let's go with part one. And we're also expecting some youngsters. So, youngsters, I want you all to comment as we go along, and we'll give you time to express yourselves.
Yes, feel free to comment on the Facebook or YouTube pages if you have any contributions to make to what you're seeing.
All right. So, without further ado, let's follow Son of the Soil, Sir Trevor McDonald, as he visits inmates on death row at the Indiana State Prison. Let's go.
What's it like when one of your friends on death row is led away to be executed?
Well, you spend, years and years and months and hours of every day with a person. You talk every day, hey, what are you doing? And, let's eat something. Let's make something to eat. And, and he eventually comes by one day and like, yeah, I got to go, man. And, when he leaves and turns his back and walks down them steps, he ain't coming back. They're going to kill him.
About an hour's drive south of Chicago in the state of Indiana is one of America's oldest and most notorious maximum security prisons.
Warning as well. Not a disclaimer, but just a warning. We just have the A word and S word in it, but we're in a maximum security prison, right? We took out the heavy stuff, but it's, we just left the, as I said, one or two of the words that will be used in a context. All right, but we promise you reality radio, and this is what we're about to experience. Let's go.
The majority of the 1,900 inmates here are serving long sentences for unspeakable crimes.
And when I came at you, I wasn't just going to stick you an inch. I was going to run something all the way through you. Get out of here!
12 are due to be executed on the orders of the state. For 2 weeks, I was given privileged access to this dark and forbidding world.
I do deserve to be executed. Bottom line, I ain't gonna candy coat it. I deserve to be executed.
Welcome to Indiana State Prison.
Thank you.
My introduction to the prison was dramatic. The man who runs it, Superintendent Bill Wilson, agreed to take me to death row.
So this is actually the entrance?
This is the actual entrance, and it's 2 floors. We only have 12 men on the row right now.
You have to sign yourself in?
Mm-hmm. The superintendent comes to death row every week to check on how the inmates are coping.
Superintendent, these are the pictures of people on death row?
Correct. These are the 12 gentlemen that are on death row, and it shows their cell location so that staff never have to question where they're at. No staff members are allowed on the unit when the offenders are out. So the offenders actually will secure themselves in the cells, and then their cell doors will be closed or opened as they need to come in or out.
Do you like any of these people?
They're all different in many ways, and I am respectful of who they are, what they are. Would I call them my friends? No, but there's some characters here that have some personality characteristics that you would say are likable.
He knows them all by name, and they know him.
McManus, it always amazes me how clean that cell is. Keep it up.
A lot of time in here.
I know.
Hello.
Staying out of trouble?
Yeah.
All right. Wilkes, how's your eyes? You been over to medical at all?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all right. How are you?
Just 1 second. How you been?
I'm all right. You?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Hi.
Is tension high?
Not for me.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Richie?
What's up?
All right.
What's all this?
Mr. Ritchie's wife, I believe, is from England.
Which part of England is she from?
St. Albans.
Uh-huh, in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I met her about 4 years ago on a pen pal, and we hit it off instantly. And she came over, visited, couldn't get enough, and married me.
How often do you get a chance to see her?
Every weekend.
Do you mind doing this?
Oh, no, not at all.
Yes. It is very, very unconventional, though, because the end game in this relationship is one that you know and she knows.
Well, yeah, kind of, because a lot of guys can get off death row. A lot of us are getting off death row. But cases like mine and like another gentleman back here, you know, we didn't kill no women or kids. We were charged with shooting a cop, a police officer, and they just don't let guys like us, no matter if you got good issues in your case or not, legal issues to let you off death row, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
She knows that, and she married you.
I know. I found something now. See, I was a stupid kid at 19 and 20. I made very poor decisions. I would make decisions. I would do things without thinking about them, and I didn't give a damn about the consequence at all. That kid, to me now, 32 years old, that kid's gone. I'm not saying I'm rehabilitated. You know.
You're not saying that?
No, I'm not. But I am
Why
saying,
not?
because I'd be bullshitting you. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm the kind of guy that does need to be in prison.
Why are you the kind of guy who needs to be in prison?
Because I'm the kind of guy, if I get fired from a job and I can't find a job, I'll do it the legal way, try to get a job, and I can't find a job, and I can't pay my bills, I'll go get a gun and I'll pay my bills. And I won't think nothing about it. It won't bother me at all.
You've described the person you are, but how do you see your life looking down the line? Where does it go? Where does it end up?
Either in a box or doing a life sentence in population. That's my choices right there. Doing a life sentence or being in a box. And I gotta watch my wife grow old through these bars.
Out in the general population, convicts are allowed yard time, 2 hours recreation every day. Save for taking showers and meals, this is their only opportunity to mix and to make allies.
Have you been here a long time?
27 years.
How many?
27 years.
27 years.
I was heading to the Administrative Segregation Unit with Lieutenant Gillespie. The men here are among the prison's most dangerous.
This is Sergeant Fagan. This is his unit.
Get out of here!
Many of the offenders here are gang members, drug dealers, and sexual predators. Everything they do is monitored and carefully controlled.
Could you tell me what this list of names is all about?
All right. Every cell house in Indiana State Prison has one of these. The idea behind this is to make sure we know where everyone's at, what they're doing, who they are, why they're here, etc. For example, if someone would accidentally take out 508 and 509 together, and let's say 508 owes 509 money, so 509's mad about it, and they get put in the shower together and the door's locked, and he has a weapon on him, 508 could lose his life. Like that. Just because someone made that mistake. So that's why it's important to really understand this board.
Do you feel that you must be constantly vigilant?
These guys have nothing but time. Okay, we're going home, so we're thinking about going to dinner with the wife, going to dinner with the mom, whatever. These guys have nothing but time. They're sitting here, and these guys, they're smart. They don't forget. So let's say you made them mad 2 weeks ago. You forgot all about it. They don't. So let's say you're sitting here minding your business, doing something, come up behind you and assault you. Yeah, you gotta be awake. You gotta be on your toes.
The offenders in this unit are locked down for 23 hours a day. And when they're allowed out for their 60-minute break, they're kept apart in individual steel cages. One of the men is 38-year-old Ronald L. Sanford. By any measure, and in any prison community, his is an exceptional story.
When did you come here to Indiana State Prison?
Well, I came here in 1989 at the age of 15 years old. I was actually convicted of the crime that I'm here for at the age of 13 years old.
And what was the crime?
Double homicide. So I committed a double homicide at the age of 13 years old. At the age of 15, my case had ran its course through the court, and I was sitting here to this prison in 1989.
Double homicide,
yes, sir.
At the age of 13?
13, yes, sir.
That's very, very young.
It's tragic, to say the least, and it is very young. Absolutely, it's unheard of. Wow, it's unspeakable, to say the least. Even reflecting on it, almost 25 years later, in August it'll be 25 years since that crime took place. It's still very vivid. It's still very poignant. It still resonates, and it still has the same amount of tragic elements involved in it now as it did then, and it will always be with me for the rest of my life. I always say it's like an albatross around my neck. No matter where I go or what I do for the rest of my life, it'll always be with me.
What were the circumstances which led up to the incident which led you in prison at the age of 15?
Me and a friend had basically planned to get money to go to a fair, and to do so we're going to cut grass, and we went to a home basically, and they said they didn't want their grass cut, and rather than continue on the vein and go to the next home, we decided to push into the home essentially, and it ended in a double homicide. It's that simple. And for our complicity in that crime, I was sentenced to 170 years, 170.
You got a sentence of 170 years.
Yes, sir.
However you cut that, you are not going to get out of here.
I'm eligible for parole when I turn 100 years old.
Have you ever thought about all the things that you have missed that other 15-year-olds go through as part of their normal lives?
Absolutely. I've never been to the prom. I've never driven a car. I've never had a driver's license. I've never filed tax returns. I've never been on an airplane. I've never traveled abroad. Yeah, should I continue? My life has been lived in this prison, and it seems as though I've been in this prison so long that I've never been free. 25 years in prison, you know, it's a long time.
Especially when you come in at the age of 15.
Yeah, really.
Ariel, thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you for taking the time.
I appreciate you.
My first meeting with Sanford was a shock, but there were more disturbing cases at Indiana State Prison.
Right, folks, that's the first part of this installment here this morning, and we are trotting nicely along. So far, we if you having problems on YouTube, we apologize.
And we invite you to join us on Facebook. The link was just posted in the chat, so you can click on that.
Yes.
And join us on Facebook instead.
Yeah, it seems as though YouTube didn't get the memo from pictures.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
But we're going to take a quick break and, you know, get some water, and we'll be back with the second installment of this documentary. Stay right there, please. And I hope you young people listening to what you've heard so far. We'll be back.
Listen now, has noticed something out. Them new people and them up bureau day. Where's that? Girl, the man is passing up and down in front of here with a set of woman.
I really noticed some woman living there, you know. And they can't even say as much as good morning.
Well, listen now, I wonder if this human trafficking, you think is that?
So, how can you spot and identify perpetrators and victims of trafficking? Many victims are found living and working together in the same place and sleep in shared and inappropriate spaces. Victims work excessively long hours. They often sleep in the daytime and work long nights. They are often escorted everywhere they go and may appear to be malnourished. They may show signs of physical abuse, drug and alcohol use, and may also appear withdrawn, fearful, or intimidated. Victims who are migrants are often not in possession of their identity or immigration documents and have irregular immigration status. Perpetrators can be male or female and may appear to be managing or controlling the victims. And they may even at times appear to be the victim's best friend, boyfriend, or employer.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangence methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Eye on Dependency will be a morning show in 2022.
That's right. Eye on Dependency marks 20 years on the air. We're taking our groundbreaking brand of radio to a whole new audience. From the team that took you inside prisons in the UK
I was being held and charged for conspiracy to import cocaine into the UK.
We spoke with men and women who have paid for their crimes.
They didn't tell me if I bring him back and I get catch, I will get 14 years imprisonment. They didn't say that.
We brought you the glamour of feature film.
I do have a package to drop off in Trinidad.
For you, Alejandro, anything.
I will pay you each 5,000 euros.
And the squalor of death row.
It's a common person from a case in the High Court in Port of Spain, and it was in common when you get a pin from the gate.
And of course, the testimonies of men and women with drug use disorders.
I was quite devastated and got involved with the wrong company.
The man who I used to deal with, he gave me a job to drive him around, just to go and buy cocaine and smoke cocaine.
From Toronto to London, New York to Los Angeles, Scarborough to Point Fortin, and everywhere in between, Eye on Dependency has been your source for drug information. Join us as we move to Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Don't miss Eye on Dependency. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories. We change lives. We change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us, and remember, we if the stream drops on YouTube again, just follow the link to Facebook and you'll continue with the story and this document. So let's go to part 2 of Son of the Soil, Sir Trevor McDonald, as he speaks with death row inmates at the Indiana State Prison.
One of the oddities of the American prison system is that an inmate can spend 20 years on death row exhausting the appeals process before he's executed. In all that time, convicts are confined to this cell block and have little contact with the rest of the prison. Paul McManus killed his wife and 2 young daughters.
Mr. McManus, the first thing I noticed about your cell that is terribly clean and very different from any of the others.
Right.
Why is that?
I feel if I don't use it in a month, then I probably don't need it.
Yeah, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's particularly clean.
Well, me personally, I don't read or write, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So I clean because I don't write letters, I don't read books. There's only so much on TV you can watch before they show repeats, so it gives me a lot of time. So I just take pride in cleaning my cell.
Was your life before you came to prison very similar? Were you a very tidy person then?
Not so much. I worked a lot, so I was always busy. So I like to stay busy. It keeps my mind. So it works both ways, I guess. You know, I keep busy in here, but I've pretty well done all I can do in here. I might have to move to a different cell and do the same thing, but I've been here over a decade, so I'm just now getting it where I like it.
Does being on death row take a physical, emotional toll on you?
Oh, it's definitely up and down. Definitely. Now, I did weigh 250 pounds almost 2 years ago, and now I weigh 166. Now, I have pictures of them if you would like to see them. I got them right here, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And you can see the difference.
So this is...
it's all me.
This is all you. So you lost a lot of weight.
Right. As you know, it's depression a little bit, you know, and it's also just, I mean, it's like I said, it's a roller coaster. It's up and down.
McManus sees more of Indiana State Prison than the other men on death row. He's a diabetic and is allowed a daily visit to the prison hospital. The authorities must treat him, although they will, in all probability, put him to death one day.
Well, here we are, out of death row and into the sunlight. Is this the only chance you get to mix with the rest of the general prison population?
Yes, we don't have a lot of contact with them, so it is nice to be able to come out and see people that you've maybe been locked up with that are not on the road no more. And every once in a while, you can, have a little bit of contact with that person, just for a brief second.
Were you on any kind of medication, like insulin, before you came?
No,
before you came to prison?
Absolutely none. Zip. Now, I take quite a few pills and the insulin shot. It all comes down to the food and also how you have your ups and downs where you gain weight and then stuff like that. So, I mean, that does play a factor. All my friends I brought with me. What's nice about, well, if there is a nice thing about being a diabetic is that you do get to get out and come over to the hospital daily, and then to be around regular people, it's nice.
Yeah.
Put you back to normal. All right.
All right, thank you.
See you later.
The rest of the prison is distinctly different from the oppressive gloom of death row. Lunchtime in cell block C. Prisoners have a chance to spend time in the open air. They can also earn privileges. Some have jobs and can request a haircut twice a month. All the barbers are convicts. Rick Parrish is serving 3 life sentences, plus 10 years.
I must say, walking into this place is one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had for a long time. You wouldn't have thought that this was a barbershop or in a maximum security prison.
Well, we work hard to keep it unique in here because we like the atmosphere. We like being able to come in here and relax. It's neutral territory for gangs, for officers. I mean, if you come to the barbershop and you're a gang member, would you start trouble with a guy that's standing here with a pair of shears in his hand like this?
No, I wouldn't. I suspect not, too.
That's why there's no trouble in here.
There's still, though, this feeling of unreality about people with instruments like these in a maximum security prison.
I've been here 37 years. We've never had an incident in the barbershop. We've never had an incident with the shears. Never had a problem.
You've been here since the 70s. That's a long time.
January 75.
Long time.
Yeah. Well, if you do it a day at a time, like most of us do, you do time a day at a time. Sometimes an hour at a time, sometimes a minute at a time, whatever it takes to get through. Then you look up one day and 37 years have went by. There you go, young man. You have a good day.
Thank you. Rick, what are we looking at here?
A little history of the penitentiary and the barber shop. The shop was remodeled in August of '76, and that's the first picture taken in this shop. Yeah.
Is that you there?
Yes, it is.
August so this 76. Is your wall?
Yeah, I'm all over the wall because it is my wall. And this.
And you're pumping iron here?
Yeah, that was probably 20 years ago when I was eating anything that didn't move and pumping iron at the same time.
So this is a catalog of your life in pictures?
Yeah, because you can see the progress from what I looked like in '76 up here to where I'm at right now. Here, that's the newest picture.
What emotions do they invoke?
wishing I was out there doing it right, wishing I could start all over again at 29, 30 years of age and not make the mistakes I made. But you get past, after 37 years, you better be past all that. You know, have your head screwed on, you know, make the best of what you have.
But the pictures are constant reminders.
Yeah, what was. You know, that's like, you know, all of us that got here were violent criminals to get here.
What was your violent crime, Rick?
I'm in here for kidnap robbery. I pulled a robbery, and the car I had wouldn't start, so I commandeered a vehicle, and there was 3 people in it.
All the pictures here, you have it on, mounted on cardboard?
Yeah, it's on cardboard, so if I ever get out, I can take it with me. That's what it's for. I fold it up and take it with me as a reminder. You don't want to go back.
I went back to the administrative segregation unit to see Ronald L. Sanford again. His story haunted me. A killer when he'd barely entered his teens.
RL, hi. How you doing?
I'm all right, yourself?
Good. How do you get accustomed to life in this environment?
It takes some getting used to. It's tough. There was a young man on the range, a very young man, maybe 19, 20 years old. He's exhibiting psychosis. They took him to see the psychologist because he's having trouble adapting. This is an abnormal environment for a human being, certainly. You know, these are essentially cages. And to think that we stay in them 24 hours, 23 hours a day, come out for an hour a day, it's taxing.
May I have a look in your cell about...
Absolutely.
Have a look at some of the books?
Absolutely. You absolutely may. So.
Yes, Lieutenant, would you mind opening up? I'd just like to have a look.
Yes, sir. You can take whatever down you want to take down.
And war against the weak, what's that about?
Eugenics.
Eugenics?
Yes, sir. America's attempt to make a master race, essentially.
And this one is the tree of life. What that's about?
Yes, it's Kabbalah, actually. It's more metaphysics, essentially. Those deep questions about man, where he comes from, where we're going, and who we are, essentially. Yes.
I see that you have, in addition to your books, you have some of your own writing on the walls here. Strength, well-being, and health.
Yes. Just something I try to focus on. If there's anything I want to stay my mind on, it's, as I always say, it's something progressive. So being strong and having a good disposition and being in good health are certain things I definitely want to focus on.
And you have written here, no man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher.
Yes, sir.
I'm also standing here, and I think these are the parameters of your existence.
Existence, absolutely. These 4 walls.
It's a pretty isolating place.
It really is, if you see it as such. It's isolated only to the extent that you think it is. You know, I mean, those books allow for a great escape and for to be able to leave the confines of the wall. So,
but I'm only in here for a few minutes, and I feel it as such. I feel it. I feel the isolation.
Everybody in this building feels the confinement that we're suffering here. You know, you put an animal in a cage for too great of a length of a time, it goes crazy. You know, how much more so humans? You know, so.
This is what Sanford looked like when he came here at the tender age of 15. His murder of 2 elderly women in 1987 netted him the meager sum of $5. On that vile act, he must reflect for the rest of his life.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Iron Dependency, and you're watching/listening to Death Row inside Indiana State Prison, hosted by Sir Trevor McDonald, who we are paying tribute to on Iron Dependency.
For those of you who just joining us, Sir Trevor McDonald is a Trinidad born. He got knighted, of course, for his work he's done out there in the UK, and he was the first journalist who was sent on assignment to Marlborough House when Dr. Eric Williams and Reginald Capeldew went up there to haggle for our independence. We celebrate 60 years of independence this year, and we felt that this illustrious son of the soil is worth a little time in showcasing and highlighting the work that he did with regard to education and prevention. This is one of what we're showing here this morning. So if you can join us on Facebook, unfortunately, YouTube channel is down. So we would like you to continue with us, though, on our Facebook page or listen on the radio, because the dialogue is clear enough and you understand what's happening. So far, it's very compelling for me and the youngsters, you who viewing it this morning with us. We thank you very much. Bev out there in Brooklyn, thank you for joining us too as well. And Alison out there in the US, I can't remember what part you are. But, and of course, Mr. Peter Gantum, thank you very much too for your comment. And all other supporters of Dependency. Mr. Wilson, I think you have been riveted so far and you understand what the journey we're on here.
Oh yes, it reminds me of Garth and Natasha. As a recruit, I went to Carrera to search about 7 o'clock the night. And after that experience, I saw about 2 or 3 young boys and young men. And when I left the island, I was eager to leave the island, right? Because of the same thing that Sir Trevor spoke about. He was in his cell just for a few minutes, and he felt that, that alienation. So when I reached home, my girlfriend at the time, she was home, and I hugged her so tight that I could have been charged for murder because he almost strangled her to death. Having experienced that and then coming home. So she was wondering why I was hugging her so tight. And then I explained to her, I was just from Carrera, saw these young men and wondered what it was like for them at that age to be confined for that length of time.
Folks, we're not done yet. We have a third installment. So
And a fourth.
Let's go to this break. Get your water, get your popcorn, because we have more information to come, more education to unfold. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangence methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Hey, Cappy, talk to you now, boy. Got a small work for you to do. Make a quick 10 G's. What you gonna do for me? 10 G's? What's that you want to do there, buddy? What you doing? Taking your boat, run up the islands, pick up some people and then bring them back here for me. That's all you have to do.
That sounds like human trafficking, man. That's a serious crime. I can't make that.
Trafficking in human beings is a serious violation of a person's human rights. It violates a person's right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of identity. It is a heinous crime which affects local, regional, and international peace and security. A victim of human trafficking is subjected to many types of abuse. The crime destroys a person's dignity and self-worth. Victims often feel hopeless, are suicidal, and are stigmatized in their communities. Child victims are deprived of their rights to education, play, and social interactions. They're essentially robbed of their childhood, and that can never be regained once those years have passed. If we do little or nothing to fight against human trafficking in our country, we can face economic sanctions from international agencies and partners. Our country will be losing money. Doing little or nothing to fight against human trafficking will tarnish our country's international image and, most of all, the value we place on human life. Human trafficking is no respecter of persons. Anyone can be a victim. So let us all strive to safeguard human life and dignity in Trinidad and Tobago.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and we're having a very animated discussion off mic, but we will get to that once we conclude our sharing of this piece by Sir Trevor McDonald. He is inside death row in Indiana State Prison, and some very interesting questions are being raised, I'm sure, in your minds, in ours as well, and we will discuss further once we're done.
Yes, and also to the young people, thank you very much from CCC South Central, and I'll remember the other region in a moment. But we have a couple of youngsters from the Conservation Corps joining us this morning, and we thank you so much. And and Southeast, thank you very much for spending the time with us, and we hope that you're learning something so far.
Good morning to Amber as well, who's on, Amber Vlangers.
Oh, Amber is with us? Okay. One thing I spoke to you all about when we chatted about choice. You heard one of the prisoners talk about making the choice that he made and starting all over again. What it's like if he's given a chance and he's studying. If he went back to the age, remember I told you all that, if I had the chance to revert to the age of 20, what I know now, I would do everything correct coming forward. But you have that one opportunity to make that choice. So let's go again. Let's continue with this journey inside death row, and we'll get, of course, we want to hear your comments at the end of this. What have you learned from this documentary? So let's go back to Sir Trevor McDonald.
So you have them all, they just came downstairs. Good for a bit. Go to trial, let's go! And not a problem.
Prison life moves to the relentless and monotonous beat of an unchanging routine. Some inmates get the chance to relieve the tedium by working. At the end of his shift, Rick Parrish, the barber, returns to what's called an honor cell, to which only the most trusted prisoners are assigned.
And they're all two-man cells?
Two-man cells.
Yeah.
This is my cell here.
Rick, who opens the doors? Is that controlled
by the computer? Up in the office there, there's a computer, controls all the doors, controls our water.
May I come into your cell?
Sure, please.
Thank you. And this is your cellmate?
Mike.
Hi, Mike. I'm Trevor McDonald.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been sharing a cell with Rick?
Oh, about 2.5 years. Isn't that about right, Rick?
Yeah, that's correct.
So which is your side? This is your side. It strikes me too that there has to be a rather clear division of what's yours and what's Mike's.
That's Mike's cabinet over there.
Yeah.
And he has all his commissary and stuff in there. This is my cabinet here. And I have my commissary and things in here. But in general, we're sharing a space.
You have to try to give the other person their privacy. If he's doing something and he's up walking around, I try to stay over there. And he does the same for me. Try to take turns doing things because it is close quarters.
So this is an improvement from any other part of the prison.
You've been in a regular cell house. You've seen how they live over there. You've heard the noise. You hear how quiet it is. It stays quiet like this most times. And sure, you have to put up with another human being, but it's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice.
Rick's honor cell does not insulate him from one stark reality. Death row is within shouting distance in the same block.
What is it like to live so close to death row?
Well, I just block it out. I don't pay any attention to it. I'm a barber and I won't even go over there and cut hair because I don't want to get to know any of them. You lose enough friends through attrition in here as it is without them being on death row. So I don't even want to get familiar with them.
Why don't you want to get familiar with them?
Because you get friendly with them, you get to know them, and they get executed, you've lost another friend.
Does the mood change perceptibly just before an execution, in the days before an execution?
Yeah, it gets even quieter. Everybody knows the last one, I think, was Wiggles. He stopped here, hollered down through there, "I'll see you, fellas."
He said that?
Yeah, he hollered out. Everybody's usually awake. We used to, midnight, we used to beat on the bars.
And how many times has that happened since you've been here? How many executions have there been since you've been here?
I've never kept track. Like I said, I try not to dwell on it, so keeping track of them there'd be too many, as far as I'm concerned.
Rick Parrish says he's never kept track of the number of executions. Someone on death row obviously has. Every one of the 12 men on death row will one day be told the date and time of his execution. That common fate inspires unusual friendships. John Stevenson was a member of an organized criminal gang. He assassinated 3 people. Benjamin Ritchie, who had met before, killed a police officer.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. You been all right?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good. You two are in adjoining cells. How long have you been friends?
About 11 years. Since I got here on death row. He was already here when I got here.
How did this friendship come about? What drew you to each other as friends?
Well, we got the same interests. I mean, we play our music loud, we play video games, we work out, play basketball, eat together. If shit goes down, we whoop together. That's how our friendship came about.
Does that mean you have a lot in common?
Yeah. Well, I thought we did.
You're not sure anymore?
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want you two friends to argue about that.
No, we're not going to argue.
Oh, hell
no.
no. What's it?
No, I mean, if anything, we always argue, but we've never come to blows over nothing. No, never. We're like, you, and then half hour later, hey, what we eating tonight? It's over. Yeah. It don't matter. It don't mean nothing.
I'm always right in the end, so.
He's the voice of reason. You're the voice of anger, from what you say.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that right?
He keeps a leash on me, yeah. Like, I'd rather lash out at somebody. Like, when I first met Boyan, he hated me because I was just a straight up I'd be in your face, you know, come on in the shower and let's fight. And I calmed way down since then. Yeah, most of the police, they couldn't stand my ass. And I got allowed around older cats and they calmed me down.
From your point of view, what's this friendship based on? We heard from Richie what he thought about it.
Trusting each other, you know. And, you know, basically that's, you know, trust.
Like if goes down, I got his back, he's got mine. See, that's why they moved us, because he got into it with a dude up here, and almost killed him. And the police had to come in and stop it. And after they broke it up and everything, administration got wind that I was going to try to kill the dude because he cut my buddy with a knife. And so they moved me and my buddy Tex here to the back and moved dude up in the front by himself so nobody could get to the dude. Within the first 2 weeks of being on death row, I watched a man get murdered in front of me, get stabbed up 42 times, dispatched instantly. And that was my wake up to death row. Like, if you come here, you want to be a bully, you want to take from people, this is what's going to happen to you. The dude was just butchered.
Although you witnessed something so horrendous, you still sound pretty angry.
But see, here's the thing. If you show any sign of weakness in here, the sharks will circle. I won't be a victim. I'll be one of the sharks.
I think the sharks are going to circle regardless.
And that was part 3 of this documentary featuring Sir Trevor McDonald, who is in death row, Indiana State Prison. Riveting stuff.
Yes, and we're doing it for the benefit of the young ones this morning, and of course those in authority, to see what a maximum security prison actually looks like, and we're hoping that we can get one in the future. Mr. Wilson will speak to that. And quickly, remember folks, for this last segment here, you can join us on our Facebook page and Dependency, so that you're comfortable listening on the radio. Let's go to this break, and when we return, we have the final chapter of this episode 1 of the tour with Sir Trevor McDonald, and we have more of this to come, lots more riveting stuff to come. We again hope that it would educate and someone would learn from the experiences of these inmates here that we're speaking with this morning. So stay right there, we'll be back.
Thank you for calling the Counter-Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago. How may I help you?
The Trinidad and Tobago's Counter-Trafficking Unit, also called the CTU, was established through an Act of Parliament, the Trafficking in Persons Act, Chapter 1210, or the TIPS Act. We are a specialized, multidimensional, civilian-led agency under the Ministry of National Security, responsible for the daily operations of the counter-trafficking response of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. We implement government policies developed by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, effective identification of victims and witnesses, prevention of trafficking, protection and prosecution, all through effective partnerships. We also operate a toll-free, anonymous hotline, 800-4288 for CTU, where the public can report possible cases of human trafficking. We screen and interview persons to identify possible victims of trafficking. We refer identified victims to appropriate agencies for support and care. Specially trained, positively vetted police officers working in the CTU gather evidence, investigate, and prosecute human trafficking cases. In keeping with our public education mandate, we also deliver training to our many stakeholders and partners. We collaborate with local, regional, and international organizations, NGOs, churches, and faith-based organizations to educate and warn the public on how to recognize human trafficking. We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangents methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Eye on Dependency will be a morning show in 2022.
That's right. Eye on Dependency marks 20 years on the air. We're taking our groundbreaking brand of radio to a whole new audience. From the team that took you inside prisons in the UK.
I was being held and charged for conspiracy to import cocaine into the UK.
We spoke with men and women who have paid for their crimes.
They didn't tell me if I bring him back and I get catch, I'll get 14 years in prison. They didn't say that.
We brought you the glamour of feature film.
I do have a package to drop off in Trinidad.
For you, Alejandro, anything.
I will pay you each 5,000 euros.
And the squalor of death row.
I said come in person for my case in the High Court in Port of Spain, and it was in come my and pin from the gate.
And of course, the testimonies of men and women with drug use disorders.
I was quite devastated and got involved with the wrong company.
The man who I used to deal with, he gave me a job to drive him around, just to go and buy cocaine and smoke cocaine.
From Toronto to London, New York to Los Angeles, Scarborough to Point Fortin, and everywhere in between, Eye on Dependency has been your source for drug information. Join us as we move to Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Don't miss Eye on Dependency. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories. We change lives. We change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. Bev from Hello Leon and Bev Lee says, what happens to an inmate on death row who got a stroke or is in a wheelchair? Well, we'll ask Mr. Wilson to answer that. Amber from Connecticut said, I would really like people to challenge assumptions. Prisons are violent environments. If you cage people often for upwards of 22 hours a day, how do you think they are going to behave? This is not rehabilitation. It is more violence. In addition, admin separately can often be based on the charge. Please be reminded that the birth of criminalization and classification of violent crime in the United States often include crimes that may not be considered by a layperson as violent. Amber goes on to say, imagine the potential to break cycles of violence rather than caging or killing permanently. We leverage the rehabilitation of these individuals, their stories, the wisdom they were forced to gain to address the root of how they got there. And that is when I point out to you, Mr. Wilson, the wisdom that they gain all of when they reach in prison.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we outside we don't take time out to apply that same wisdom or dig deep for it.
Yeah.
You know, but folks, let's go once again to the final installment of this first edition of Following Sir Trevor's work.
And yes, someone asked if he's still alive. He is very much alive. And
Yes.
in fact, we will culminate this series with a live interview with Sir Trevor himself.
On Independence Day.
Yes.
for
For
independence.
independence.
Yes. And as I said, I think this is a milestone for him and for us. We reached 60 years. He was the first journalist that who went to Marlborough House to cover this effort. So I think it ties in nicely. And why not use his material now to educate our young people? So folks from North, South Central and Southeast, we thank you very much for joining us. Let's go now to the final installment of this documentary.
The average sentence at Indiana State Prison is 52 years. In Britain, that might seem like 2 life sentences, but it's infinitely preferable to having an execution order hanging over your head.
Hello.
Lieutenant Boyan has taken me to E Block to meet one prisoner who has escaped the death penalty.
What's up, Harrison? How you doing? Trevor, this is Offender Harrison. I've known Offender Harrison for probably around 6 years. I knew him here, and also he was on death row before.
How was it that you managed to move from death row, which is not a particularly pleasant environment, to this, which is comparatively much more pleasant?
The court ordered me a new trial, and they gave me years instead of the death penalty. So,
how did you get that new trial?
The judge that was in my trial was biased, so they ordered a new trial. And instead of taking the whole thing, I just went ahead and took the deal, which was 150 years. 150 years? It's a long time, isn't it?
That's a very, very long time indeed.
In other words, I'll die in here. No way I can make out. No way. I'm 62 now. My out date is 66, so there's just no way in the world I can make it out.
There are people who might think that there's not a lot of difference between being on death row and having been given 150 years at the age of 62.
It was like you said, there's still hope there. There's no hope on death row. Once they put you to death, that's it. There's no more wondering what's going to happen. There's no more trying to work your way out of it. There's no more, there's nothing.
Still, in a way, a kind of death sentence.
It is a death sentence. But you got a lot more freedom out here. And you might as well take the freedom and live your life out here, and having a job and being able to work and go to the chow hall and go to the chapel and do that than to sit up there and just wait to die.
How long were you on death row?
18 and a half years.
What was it like to spend so long knowing that you faced execution?
It was very, very hard. Very hard. It's hard to do it up on X row. Sitting there waiting for your last meal, your last day, not knowing when it's going to come.
Why were you on death row?
They said I killed 3 people. But I was up there.
You would probably have been executed.
Executed, yes.
Had a date been set for that?
Yes, I had about 2 months.
That was a pretty close run thing.
Yes.
What was that moment like for you when you heard that you had avoided execution?
It was a great moment. It was a great moment. Even though I still got a lot of time to do, like you said, where there's life, there's hope.
As he said, James Harrison will not leave this prison alive. But he knows he'll never be strapped to a gurney and given a lethal injection just after midnight. Like most of the inmates, Harrison now enjoys the strange freedom of not knowing the date and time of his death. Before leaving the prison at the end of my first week, I asked to see Benjamin Ritchie again. but this time face to face. In the year 2000, he shot and killed a policeman. At the time, Richie was on parole for burglary. With less of the bravado he showed in the company of his friend, I wanted to hear his view of his life and his crime.
Talk me through the incident which led you to be here.
Well, my crime is shooting a police officer and killing him. And it started off, pretty harmless as a theft crime. Me and my friends would ride around and carjack people and take their rims from their cars from them. And my buddy's car was already full, so I decided, let's get a van or a truck and we fill it up with some rims and take it back and we can go sell everything. I got in a high-speed chase and wrecked into a house and jumped out and took off running. I was trying to get away, but the cop was young and he was on my ass. And I thought maybe if I, take my gun out and fire it a couple times, it'd scare him because, he's a Beach Grove police officer. It's kind of a good neighborhood. Like, how many times has he been shot at, if that bullet would have hit just less than half of an inch lower, he'd be alive today. And I'd probably have a long, lengthy prison sentence, but I wouldn't be on death row, man.
How were you apprehended? How were you caught?
Well, I actually got away. I made it back actually a few blocks away to some family's house and a girl I was seeing and got away. And I didn't know I killed him until I got back to the house and seen it on the news, and that just destroyed me. I knew I hit him in the backyard, but I didn't know he was dead, right? I fell asleep. The next thing I know, I wake up and hear my buddy says they're outside. I wake up and it was like in the movies, you see a whole bunch of red dots from their guns going in and out the windows. And I was like, yeah, it's bad, man. I told him go ahead and go out, leave the house. And I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't have no gun, I couldn't fight no more, so I just gave up.
What went through your mind when the court pronounced you guilty?
Well, I was trying to portray a tough guy in court, so when they gave me the death sentence, I laughed at them. And the prosecutor told everybody that's the voice of evil. Which I would agree at the time, yeah. I deserved the death penalty. I was young and didn't care about anybody at all but myself or anything. And I deserved that. I deserved that sentence at the time. And I just pretty much laughed at them when they gave it to me. But then, when I was by myself, it really sunk in like, man, you're more likely going to be executed one day. And it hit me hard, So I put my face in my pillow and, cried a little bit. And
was it inevitable that sooner or later you would end up in a place like this?
I always knew as a kid I'd probably end up in prison. Yeah. It's weird because when I was a kid, I was fascinated with prison movies. Every time we'd drive by prison, I would wonder, what are those guys doing? What's it like in there? What are they up to? You know what I mean? Why should I care? I'm a kid. Why should I care? But because I just always knew I was going to end up in there because I just had a problem with the rules, with authority. And as you can see, I'm here because of that.
Because you killed the police officer, you face execution. If it does come to that, would you face that moment with deep regret, with remorse, or with defiance?
I would definitely regret it and definitely have remorse. But I'd also have a little defiance, like, why are you killing me? You said killing's wrong, but yet you're premeditatedly strapping me to this table and you're going to poison me to death. You're going to kill me. And that's what I would, resent.
Thank you so much, folks.
Yes.
This has been a very eye-opening interview, and I hope you youngsters, we're going to hear from you in a bit, but let's go straight to Mr. Gerald Wilson. Mr. Wilson, you saw the infrastructure, you heard. Let's have your take.
What are your thoughts on what you
All
saw?
right, so morning again. Garth and Natasha, thanks for having me. Morning to the listening public. What I saw there is nothing really strange to me, right? I have lived that for about 36 years. The conditions, the environment may be different, but the culture is the same in terms of how inmates feel, particularly those in condemn. And strange enough, just yesterday, Garth, I was telling some friends of mine, I said, in our system, you picture at probably age 19, you commit murder. And then, you know, your case will take about 7 or 8 years in the lower court. And I could tell you what happens, right? Now, sometimes persons are so confident that they'll win the case in the lower court that day they go for the termination of the matter. They will give away their snacks, their sneakers, everything. And let me tell you something. If it's before Christmas or Carnival, it's even worse. Because if it's before Christmas, they already visualize themselves with their family for Christmas.
Yes.
So let us say November, early December, they go for the termination of the matter. So they give away everything, all the snacks and everything, and, you know, high five, and they go to court. And then the magistrate says that a prima facie case has been made out against you. You can imagine the state that person comes back in.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you something. They know, firstly, that they have another 7 or 8 years to spend. If it goes to the assizes. They have to wait for that court date. Right? So that's the first thing.
Young people, I hope all you're listening, listen to this.
Yeah. The second thing is that to get a very good lawyer, I wouldn't call names, but you know them, right? The lawyers that are, you know, high-profile lawyers.
Yes.
You have to start with $200,000.
Which mommy do have.
Which mommy do have.
Correct.
Masira do have that kind of money.
Right.
Do have.
Sometimes what happens out there is that the persons who they would have associated themselves with out there would have the resources to help. Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes the crime we have out there is crime that also assists in their matters being heard from good lawyers. Right?
Okay.
I hope you read between the lines.
Understood, yes.
Right. Another thing too is that if you have if you have like what they consider shooters, you have heard the word, right? This man is a shooter. So if he goes in prison and he's valuable to the persons who use him outside, they will try everything to get him out. Because he's brave, he has the belly, and he could shoot well. Good? Like a sniper. So he's valuable to them. So they'll do anything to get him out. Right? So sometimes a lot of crimes that you see happening out there, and we say, but why these people, so why they're doing this, why they're doing that? Is because they have bills to pay. All right? So,
Mr. Wilson, you're describing a level of corruption in the justice system that is going unchecked.
When they say corruption in the justice
At all
system.
levels, at various levels of the system, there exist people who will
accept blood money first of all.
Correct.
And secondly, is an industry you're speaking
Yes,
about, really?
correct.
Well, the thing about it, remember the lawyers, the high-profile lawyers, to them, they don't see it as they wouldn't waste blood money, you know. They're not interested in that. No. Well, the thing about it, that's their profession. And if they say, okay, 200,000 to start this matter, they are not considering that, okay, I'm going to rob a bank or I'm going to do this to get the money. The point is, this is my fee. You either have it or you don't.
Right.
Which has nothing to do with justice.
Which has nothing to do with justice. So I'm saying that you picture this young gentleman, right, who now matter goes to the assizes. So he has another 7 or 8 years to go. At 19, he would have spent 7. Then he probably has another 5 or 7 to go before the matter goes up. Now picture this one too. Again now he goes before the jury for the termination. He does the same thing. He gives away everything because he's going to be freed. That is how he feels. And when he goes down, the jury say, death by hanging. So I have seen men going up this step. They call it the 21 steps. I have seen men going up this step in space because you have just been sentenced to hang. So when you're walking up this step, it's like your mind is all over the place. So you picture you came in at 19, you're probably 31, 32. And you're going up these steps. And even though you don't hang because the 5 years has passed, and the Pratt & Morgan says after 5 years, your sentence will be commuted to life. Now in Trinidad and Tobago, you know what life is here, natural death. We don't have a period that says, okay, life is 30 years.
Right.
We have to stay there until we die unless there's something like, I don't know if we have parole when it comes, if that would be for persons who would have committed murder.
Well,
right?
we'll be interviewing the probation department soon.
Right, so they'll be able to tell you that.
Right.
So that you picture that person going up the step at that age. What happens to his psyche there? Because he goes into a cell, as you would have seen, and these cells that we saw with Sir Trevor McDonald, these are like dormitory cells.
Yes. Right.
What we have here is nothing like that. We have the small cells. There's a bed and what have you, and you go there now.
So what we saw there, no TV, no.
Yeah, we are not so no, we don't. Well, the thing about it, our thinking is that you wouldn't put a kettle in the hands of a person who has committed murder, right? Because their thinking is different. In fact, when I joined the service, I could tell you this: they were allowed about 6 cigarettes per day, right? And I, as the young officer, had to go and light it for them. And they'll use obscene language if you don't come and light it in time,
Right.
Yeah, they curse you, and they say what, and they were very tense. They were always, aggressive because these are men who you're full of frustration. And then I'll tell you something: what we don't ever consider is the fact that these persons would have left a family behind.
Correct.
And not necessarily a girlfriend, a mother or grandmother who they were very close to. And I could tell you in some instances, the mother or grandmother would have died while they were in prison. Right? So, and what they feel now is pain and everything, because they knew to themselves that the grandmother or the mother would have been telling them, boy, behave yourself, don't do that. So they end up in prison, or the grandmother comes to visit, right, with a stick.
Yes.
Trying to find money all over the place to get to buy things in the canteen. And they feel a sense of guilt.
Mr. Wilson, stick up in right there.
Sure.
To the trainees of Southwest and South Central region, Mr. Wilson and I didn't plan this, and I'm sure what he's saying now sounds very familiar, because I said the same thing to you all. Everything he just said. So again, I want you all to switch roles for a moment and listen to what Mr. Wilson is saying about you going to prison at a very young age, and I told you about the line that you have to join to as well. Amber, we have hanging by death
in Trinidad
and Tobago.
Still on the books.
And Beirut, what about the victim? The victim is often not a part of the process that finds persons guilty or innocent in this country, in this system that we work in. Maybe they may have a victim impact statement. I know that is done. But there is no coming together of offenders and victims. As far as I know, there is no practice of that kind of restorative justice in effect. Mr. Wilson, you could speak to that.
In terms of the victim?
Yeah.
Right. Let me say this. I've used this example restorative justice, because I've said time and time again, we use the words loosely, right? In fact, the term loosely, restorative justice. Yep. And when I taught at Costa, sometimes students come into my class. If I ask them what is restorative justice, they would not be able to answer either, because they feel that restorative justice being nice for people, right? Correct. Restorative justice or something for the prison. 80% of restorative justice is outside, not in the prison. What we do in the prison is give you the tools, the rehabilitation, the reformation to make you better to come outside. But the victim is the focus of restorative justice. So let me give you, I have used this example which I made up so that people will understand. Now, a young man in the Port of Spain area breaks into a school. He steals 3 computers, right, that the children use for their purpose. but he's a cocaine addict. That's his problem.
Yep.
So he stole the computers to sell them for next to nothing. Right.
Yeah. That's what I did.
Good. So he goes to court, and the magistrate says, okay, I sentence you to 2 years. So he goes to court for 2 years. He goes to prison for 2 years. What happens then? He goes to prison, he may come out worse than, he may smoke more marijuana inside the prison, so it doesn't help him, right? And the victim doesn't benefit. What about this? The magistrate says, okay, this is what I'm going to do, right? Community service. Now, at the same time, the school was going to spend about $30,000 to paint 15 classrooms. It so happens, when the magistrate asks the person, what do you do? I'm a painter. So the magistrate says, you will paint the 15 classrooms as community service, and you will go to a rehab. Those are the conditions.
Yes.
The school now has saved $30,000 because this guy now, community service, he's going to paint the classrooms free. You know what they could do with the $30,000? They could buy 10 computers. That would have been better. So that is the restoration. So the victim, whatever the children and the teachers, benefits. The person who would have committed the offense also benefits from getting help. And probably when he goes to the school to paint and he sees the children or he's in the classroom, he may feel ashamed that I would have done this. So that is restorative justice, where the victim finally gets something from it.
Is at the center of the
That's
punishment and the rehabilitation.
Right, because you are sentenced to 2 years. What happens? The children still don't have a computer. The school had to spend $30,000 to paint the classroom, and who benefits?
And even if you have to, when you incarcerate the person now, as Natasha and I advocated for, a rehab facility in the prison. The rehab facility was started, but then politics got in the way. And when, because they didn't like Miss Bagan, and she and Mr. Pandya, they weren't getting along, you know, for that reason.
The politics,
the rehab center started working. The rehab center started doing its job in ECRC. You know, they shut that down, Mr. Wilson. That pained me so much to know that they just what you mentioned there. So the person went to prison. So for that 2 years, identifying he's a recoverer, he's an addict, you send him to the rehab.
And having the rehab in prison as well, it lessens the burden on the private institutions out here, because, you know, we are not well equipped with drug treatment.
And then he could have gone through now the drug treatment course, the same drug treatment course that we advocated for.
In essence, for his rehab.
No, Magistrate Diop and Lisa Ramsumer Hines.
Yes.
They can only do so much. We need more magistrates like them to understand that. Because just what you described there, a mother called me with her son who broke into a school in the East, and he got 3 months in jail for that. He didn't break into school, he broke her glass because he went to ask the mother for money, to get cocaine, and she refused, and he got upset, he broke her glass. The school charged him for malicious damage, right?
Yes.
He was charged for malicious damage.
Yes.
Instead of what you just said there, which I said could have been done, the magistrate gave him, that was in Grandee, 3 months in prison, 3 months.
Right.
So he comes out now with a conviction, and he can't do anything further. And the man had no conviction before that, no running with the law, anything. He's just sick. He's a crack addict.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a very good point, and thank you for bringing that out.
Yeah.
We again stress that this is the way we should go.
That's right.
And now, before we take some calls, looking at the infrastructure of the prison now, would that be your ideal prison environment?
I mean, given the fact that we would hope that as human beings that we would not need prison, but
but you see,
$80
million was spent on a fence that guarding the most expensive grass and trees right now, and 80 million folks. When I am sure we could have produced a facility like that with $80 million, what we just saw there, right? And why not continue it? Because the infrastructure, at least the perimeter fence and the tower and everything is there already.
Well, God, let me tell you this. I did correctional administration. I'll tell you something. There's a theory, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, there's a theory throughout the world, right, in terms of corrections, that if the decision to spend money doesn't benefit the electorate, then no money is spent in the organization. That's a theory. Right? So that when you say that I'm going to pump money into a prison, the public start to grumble because
the public,
the public,
You
and
get
then
pushback from
and
the
then of course the politicians would pull back because the thing about it, there are no votes here.
That's right.
That's why for me as commissioner, when you look at, I'll tell you something. Everybody from PO1 coming right up could do the commissioner's job. I'll tell you that, right? The commissioner doing nonsense, I could do it and that kind of thing. Till you reach in the position and you realize the reality is much different than what you thought.
Yes.
So the peon will say, oh, the commissioner doing nonsense. Look what he did. I could do this and I could do that. When you reach any position and you look around, you realize that you have to toe the line. All right? And then you cannot, the thing about it, the prison has an sub-accounting unit, not like the police service. They have an accounting unit. So we have to ask the ministry for funds to do this and to do that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's common like going to mommy and daddy and saying, oh God, I want to upgrade my car and that kind of thing. And then they will turn and tell you, where you want a new car for, this one working good. Right? That kind of thing.
Yes.
So that is the dilemma that you are in. And as the commissioner of prisons, you cannot behave like the association. So you cannot go and confront the minister or confront and come on radio. You have to be diplomatic in what you say.
Understood.
So a lot of times you have to use whatever you have to be creative and make the best of it. Those are not the best conditions, God. But I'm telling you, what you saw there is 100% better than what we have. Right? In Port of Spain prison, that is a story by itself. I don't know if you ever taught it at all.
Yeah.
But it cannot make anybody better.
But I live there.
Well, I try to put it nicely, right? I try to put it nicely, right?
Nice to put it there.
Right.
I actually live there.
Man, just say he's a diplomat.
Right? So that when you look at it, you understand. I'm sure when you left there, you came out no better than you went in.
Were you telling me?
And then what happens, I tell people, what they do is form subcultures. So it's we against them. Because, and I'll tell you something, you see that thing they call classification? Where we have to bundle first-timers with seasoned criminals and so on, you would not believe how dangerous that is. And I was telling somebody recently, the problems you're having in Tobago now could be as a result of not having a proper prison in Tobago and the cross-contamination. So you have persons coming from Tobago to Trinidad to serve time and listen to the experiences. And then you know what they're doing? The Trinidadians will influence them into finding ways to come to Tobago and do,
Right.
And
that's why a lot of them get
exactly.
caught up.
So if we don't spend time on a proper facility in Tobago and you have that cross-contamination, we have problems again. So the conditions, God, are not ideal for rehabilitation and reformation.
But I did hear the minister say, who take on this beast. But he did say that let's hope this time that enough is being put into to change the whole system. And I would like to suggest to the minister as well, with all due respect, the 80 million fence. Let us continue with what it was supposed to be, what it was meant for. Because I think speaking Mr. Bruce, and they just spoke about some agriculture program. Forget that.
Because people who vote have people inside prison, eh?
All of that?
Not really.
No.
Because it's not just those who are railing against, improved conditions that politicians should listen to.
But young people, I have to ask this question, Mr. Wilson, about prisoners voting. And I think it happened here before. Now, I want to hear from one or two youngsters listening this morning before we get close to wrap-up time. Let's take some calls, Gary. 622-3937. Let's hear from one or two young people. Keep your contribution short, 2 minutes, but let's hear what you felt and what advice, or did you heed the advice from Mr. Wilson just now? Because remember those 3 young men from Tobago who went Grenada to rob the bank? As I was saying to the trainees and MCC, imagine police picking you up and you not seen inside your house for the rest of your life, especially if it's for murder. That's it for you, You need to forget and change your address now to a prison address, wherever your final destination will be.
I am starting to believe, though, that the threat or the impending threat of incarceration or even the death penalty is not a deterrent to criminal activity. It's not.
No, it's not. 622-3937. Let's say Southwest, South Central. Who's going to contribute first? But I want to hear from you or anybody else who you heard Mr. Wilson. You've been reading the comments on Facebook, and it's really a lively discussion going on Facebook. 622-3937. Good morning.
Good morning to God and Mr. Wilson.
Morning.
Good morning.
Excellent program indeed. I must say I've learned a lot. Things I wasn't aware of. No? Continue good. But God tell me something. You all doing anything by one job of McDonald where he came from and where he went to school in Sanford, right?
Yes, we started with that. But you could go back to our Facebook page when we complete, and you will hear the entire introduction. But yes, we did give a brief thing. But we'll have Sir Trevor with us for Independence, so you have a chance to speak with him and interact with Sir Trevor. But yes, we did let people know that he was the first journalist who went to Marlborough House with Dr. Eric Williams and Mr. Reginald Capildeo for our Independence.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, all right.
Okay then.
Thank you.
622-3937. Mr. Wilson, again, would you have liked to make a change? Would you have liked to, before you left, did you have the time, or would you have liked to,
Yeah, I would have liked to change the name from prison officer to corrections officer, right? And also change how we look. Because I'll tell you something. One of the things that people always look at first is the appearance, how you look. And if the uniform is different, then they treat you differently, right? So my thing was always changing the uniform and changing the name. Because in Jamaica, there are corrections officers. They have changed. Let me tell you something. Jamaica has made a lot of progress in terms of prisons and so on,
Hold that thought.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good day.
Morning.
Morning. Lovely program. Enjoying it.
Thank you.
However, though, what about if we concentrate on building one proper prison, meaning to house our whole prison population? Because if you look at models all over the world, you will see there are prisons where you serving time and I serving time, and we don't know each other at all because of how they have it. So you could have one prison that will house juvenile delinquents, women, hardcore,
Drug offenders, drug users,
drug users, one massive prison. Because I want to believe, I might be wrong, but our prison population is just about 5,000.
Less than that, about 4.
Less. So look at that.
Yeah.
And if you look at models all over the world, you will see that they house 8,000 and 9,000. So you still have that leeway where build one prison, so all the officers will be concentrated in one area. All the prisoners will be concentrated in one area, so you'll have maximum amount of security, and they will be under control.
Thank you very much, caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I wonder if you could discuss a little bit the idea that punishment is not a deterrent, because I've always wondered why that is. Logic would indicate everybody knows prison is a horrible place and the death penalty means the end of your life. Why is punishment not a deterrent?
All right, Mr. Wilson.
Because that's simple to answer. Because hunger would eradicate all that. That thinking. If I'm hungry and I need to eat, you think I'm going to study what the punishment is?
Like one of the interviewees
exactly,
said,
it.
He'll
because
get a gun
you see, let me tell you something. Sometimes we sit in our ivory towers and we say how this and how that and how the other. But the reality is, and when you talk to these guys, the reality is, if I wake up in the morning and I'm looking for food, I don't have a job, what am I going to do? And we're not condoning it. We just bringing the reality to you.
Because as a mother, some mothers would say, Gerard, mommy are going down there, bring bread when you come in there. But mommy have no money, don't bring bread now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, yes. It's a very nice discussion there. You and the panel. I think the reason why the death penalty and harsh reality of prison is not a deterrent because of the conviction rate, detection and conviction rate. Because if somebody know that they can commit a crime and it's highly likely that they will get found out, the penalty wouldn't matter. But if they know that there's a high probability of they being caught, I think that will be more deterrent than the death penalty and prison life.
I doubt that very much too, but I mean, that is
I wouldn't
theory.
concur with that at all.
Hello, good morning.
I don't agree.
Good morning, President. To you all.
Morning.
Yes, I am a senior citizen, and I am sitting here listening to your program, and it is very disheartening. But what I was thinking is that we need to approach young people in the school system, that we have to find out who are the children who are giving trouble in the school and take it from there. Have consultations with these children and their parents. Find out what their problems are. Because inevitably, the people who end up in the prison system are the people who give trouble in school. So we need to have some consultation, principal, vice principal, parents, and children. Find out what is bothering these children and see if we can come to a solution from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
I mean, I agree with her to an extent, but I don't think that it's only the children who are not given trouble, because there are a lot of young people who are growing up in difficult circumstances or in ideal circumstances, but there's a range of people that come and factors that influence criminal behavior.
good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
As usual, very good program.
Thank you.
What I can contribute to say is that what we are free to do is to approach a problem with the solution that is required. And once you continue to afraid to approach the situation, because, for example, if you come to cut down some grass that is well overgrown and you have a bushwhacker, there is the blade and there is the string. Which one are you going to put on to take down this big grass? The problem is a big problem. It's an overgrown situation, and there needs some aggressiveness to take place. And we have to ask ourselves, why are we generating and breeding so much of criminals in our country? Why is it festering? Why does it continue to brew? It's because we are not addressing the problem. And one of the major problems is our environment that was influencing our behavior. Once we can continue to listen to what these people are listening to, these people are the garbage, your brain isn't developed properly. You don't even have a proper role model. You're trying to be popular and you're listening to these violent and sexual consistently bombarding your head. It is going to affect your behavior. Not until we come into a system where we can ban these things completely outright. So even these artists and them wouldn't even get shows to perform it because nobody's listening to Trinidad and Tobago. We have to combat it in that way because our social environment is toxic and it will brew toxic persons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning to God, Natasha, and to your guest, Mr. Wilson.
Morning.
I must say I agree with the concept Mr. Wilson gave about the community service. I think more of that should be done. And when I looked at I was looking at the video with the prison in England. And when I saw the way their prison is, I am saying, Lord, if our prison could keep here, them talking about the conditions so bad and it's all, I am saying, Lord, if our prisons was looking anything like their own, well, it would have been worse than they going in every Monday morning. I mean, when I saw that video with that guy who came out his car in St. James and knocked that woman down, I said, Lord, have mercy. And look, I hope the police find him, Look where St. James Station is. And he brave, so he in business. Jump back in his car and drive off, and the lady on the ground gone with her handbag. Yeah. So we in a real mess. Real mess. But Mr. Wilson, thank you for that idea. Yes. More community service. I agree with you 150%.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
As the previous caller... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. as I said to this country, there are a number of people running around here with Class A drugs in their system. When I was on cocaine, the friends and I who were on cocaine together, you put anything down, the only thing we didn't do was rob people. But that is what addicts do. And I've been calling again for, call it a drug squad, a drug test. From the time these guys are arrested, they have them existing all over the world in police forces. Draw some blood, let's see what's in the blood that driving. Right now we're flying blind. We don't know. You understand? And this is one of the ways.
That is on purpose, God. That's not by accident, you know.
Let's not, we have another caller. Hello, morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I heard Debbie Jacob say something, I think yesterday or
on Friday.
Friday, Tuesday program.
Yeah.
And the girl asked her, what is the main reason for crime? And she said poverty.
Yep. Yes. Yes. Something to ponder indeed. There's a question for you, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of an inmate on death row whom you genuinely believed to be innocent?
That's a good question because some of these guys are very clever. What happens too is that when they come into prison, they tell you all that they did. Then when the other persons get to them, the other more experienced inmates, they give you a beautiful story. And then when they go to condemn, they come back with the first story. So I've heard a number of stories because they're going to face the hangman, so it's okay to talk the truth. So they come in, they talk the truth. Then when the more experienced inmates get to them, say, boy, wash your mouth, why are you saying that? Then they come up with the most amazing story. And then when they go to condemn and they realize, okay, this is it, they say, I really killed the person. So it really depends on the individual, but I don't think, because of my training, I don't think I really believed any person 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, according to this this poster, he continues in UK and US years after persons have been deemed innocent because of evidence found or not available at the time.
Yeah.
And according to him, let's face facts, no system is 100% accurate.
Yeah. But I want to say this to God before we continue. As he said that, the thing about the condemn, the only person that really, or persons that really rejoice in the hanging of an individual would be the families and not the persons deceased. So when somebody commits a murder, remember that person is dead. So they can't rejoice that, okay, you are being killed too, because that person is dead. So only the family can rejoice. And the thing about it is that what we don't look at is the impact of the persons who carry out the death sentence. What happens to them? I saw 9 people hang in 4 days. What that did to me, I don't know. Psychologically, I don't know because I never saw psychologists after that. But I saw 9 men, I was there, actually there. So I saw them talking now, and a few minutes after, they were dead.
Hold that thought. Hello, good morning. Hello? Good morning. 622-3937. So you're live. Just now, before we take it, Mr. Wilson, the hangman in Trinidad and Tobago, how do we hire it? Does he still have a job? Or he's on retainer?
He's on retainer. So when it happens, we call him, he does what he has to do, and that's it.
So we have a hangman getting paid right now, but nobody's getting
assassin, yes.
Yeah. Because if it happens tomorrow, then we can't go looking unless he himself is deceased, and then we have to do fresh interviews.
How you apply for that job?
How you interview for that job?
Hold on. Yes, now. Hello, good morning.
Wow.
Hello, good morning. You hear me now?
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning, God Sinclair, and morning to the rest of the
morning,
panel. Sir. God Sinclair, remember the name Wayne Hernandez?
Who?
Wayne Hernandez.
Wayne Hernandez. Yes.
Could you still play basketball?
Of course.
You want to challenge her, boy?
Longest while.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I've been trying to get onto you for the longest while. Fantastic show.
Thank you.
Fantastic show. I've been listening to you for the longest while and trying to get into you for the longest while. I can't say what I have to say because it will be too long, but take care of yourself. Continue the good work, you and Natasha, and have a blessed day.
All right, you could
sure
call.
You remember Wayne Hernandez?
Yes, I remember. No, you asked for basketball, so you could call me 6756 6337, and we talk
Okay.
later.
Yes, we need to talk. We have something to talk about.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, God, just to let you know, you trained one of the hangmen. He was a member of the VDF.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
You wouldn't, I wouldn't tell you no more. He was a member of the VDF.
He was a member of the VDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, we don't know that. We don't know who the person is.
So God asking a question that you know the training man, and you asking how you apply for the job.
Oh,
All right,
God
thank
hold it out on us, you know.
It does make sense. It makes sense that you would hire somebody who is in the military to
God
kill
you hold it
people.
out on
I
us,
mean,
Mr. Wilson,
that's
just
what
now.
auditors do.
Yeah, they tell you how to apply just now. Hello, good morning. Hello, morning.
Hi, good morning.
Wow.
Morning.
Quite an interesting program, Mr. Williams. I want to ask, over the years, I don't want to sound, politics here right now, just being objective. We've had a lot of money come to this country, and I know people at heart, like yourself, would have gone to governments and tell them in the past or even present, hey, we have a solution, or not a solution, we have an idea to make things better with rehabilitating prisoners, as you say, restorative program.
Yeah.
What has been the response? I mean, I can't see any government, any reasonable man in government or woman, and hearing these things that you need to do that affects, we have a serious national security problem in this country with crime.
Yeah.
And even the department from where you guys come from, right inside here, as you say, a first-time offender come out worse than when he was offended. So, bottom line, just like someone called about things that you don't need a scientist to figure out. You start with the homes, you start in the schools, meeting with the Minister of Education, and, holding ministers and prime ministers accountable for the origins of these things. I hear you all talking the same things we've been talking to for about 30 years.
Yes.
And it's like we're spinning our top in mud. What can we do differently?
All right, caller, thanks very much. We're coming close to the end, and I want to give Mr. Wilson some closing remark. But you know one thing the caller said, Mr. Wilson, that it pains me in Trinidad and Tobago to this day.
Yeah.
We continue to look gift horses in the mouth in this country. It's something that really pains me. And putting people in the right place and doing things that they love. For instance, my role in Trinidad and Tobago, I wanted to be a career soldier.
Right.
God had something different. But he sent me on a journey.
Right.
He sent me to a university that I came back now with knowledge of how to help people save their career. I've met prison officers who I've spoken with years ago, initiated by the same Mr. Hines. And to this day, they will meet me and say, what I told them stayed with them, and they held on to their career.
Right.
Now, you would think that I would be a mainstay for all arms of the protective service because I'm a love for men and women in uniform.
Yeah.
They're looking at gift horse in the mouth. That is all. That's as far as I'll go with that. And the work that you at Vision and Mission with Miss Chance and the work that Dependency doing. This is the road less traveled. It's not Bacchanal where we come and talk about cost Dr. Rowley and cost Kamla and cost this one. And so
it's about country.
It's about country. This hard work. This is hard work.
It's tough.
And we don't have the luxury of just putting on a microphone, opening a newspaper, and talking. We have to do research. We have to take care of people. We have to look out for people. It is really hard traveling this road, but we just have to keep going and hope somebody hears our suggestions and what we bring into the table. How do you apply for the job as hangman?
Ask the guy you're training.
Mr. Wilson, that person remains nameless and faceless. You know that in
well,
our
you call
society.
the guy will tell you. You call the guy.
But he said he man trained at the VDF.
You understand? Yeah.
But he is on retainer, right?
He's on retainer,
No, God, doesn't it make sense that you would hire somebody from the military who's trained to kill people? Like,
but you know it's a position, you apply for it like anything in the government service.
That's
you apply.
why I asked.
It's a position.
Yeah. But what you,
You want to know
public service?
the enumeration, you want to apply? You try it. That's a good point. That's the point I was trying to make.
And you
right, because I'm saying that after actually witnessing that, what does that do to you? What did it do to me? Because you looking at a man having a bath, soaping his skin to go to die. Normally when they do that is that they're going and sleep or something like that.
Right.
But when you stand up looking at a man bathing, and a few minutes after he's gone, it's not an easy thing.
And you were actually in the room when...
Actually, from the beginning to the end.
Wow.
I spoke with them before they died too. And one of them told me, they said he thought he was going to get a chance to open a grocery and give food to the poor. That is how you think when you're going to die. He didn't think about that all the time. But he thought about that at a few minutes before that.
Closing remarks, Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, closing remarks. I like to tell persons Trinidad and Tobago, listen, I know crime and criminality is a difficult thing. With all the heinous crimes, it's not easy to look at reform and rehabilitation and of course, feel good about it. However, the research suggests that 95% of the persons incarcerated will return to society. You have a choice. It's either we help them while they're there and they come out better, or we leave them, they come out worse, and you become the victim.
There you go.
Thank you very much,
said, sir.
Mr.
Well
Wilson.
said. Thank you very much
Thank
to
you very much
everybody
for those of you.
Most welcome.
And
us.
you all can, as I said, thank you for that lively discussion on Facebook.
Yeah.
And those of you who missed the start, you can go back to the Facebook feed when we're done, and you will get the program from the beginning.
And remember, every month until August 31st, we will have a documentary from Sir Trevor McDonald, as we recognize his contribution to journalism, both in Trinidad and Tobago and in the UK.
So you get to learn some history as well, and you get to learn from the content. So, folks, this has been wonderful. Again, thank you, Mr. Wilson, for giving us your time.
Most welcome.
And to all the people, especially the trainees of the CCC, I hope you all learned something this morning. And we are happy to be of service to you all once again. Thank the Ministry of National Security, the Counter Trafficking Unit, Guardian Group, and all others for allowing us this opportunity. Folks, we have to go. 12 o'clock, major news is up next.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
And right after that, you have Take Two with Roger and Dominic. Take care, folks.
Good afternoon.
Right.
Mr. Wilson.
Right.